Might be something running around the property again. Something's up. But anyway, it's a new day. New day. Lots going on. Hope everybody's focusing on the good and making a difference. I hope every single one of you is trying to make a difference. That'd be really handy if you were. Now, still here. I didn't get up in the morning to go look for elk. I'll do that tomorrow morning. I still got too much to do around here. And the backup channel. I'm not sure what to do with the backup channel. It's just randomly, like I have every single video ever made on external hard drives. So I don't know what to do. Do I just keep on loading all the content onto the backup channel when there's time? Is that what you're supposed to do with the backup channel? Or does it just sit there and wait until I get a spanking and then you jump over there? I don't know. So I guess maybe possibly if or when they absolutely delete this channel, then I guess maybe the other channel should have all the content on it, right? I'm guessing. So when I get spanked here, we go directly to that one and carry on? Or do I post new video here, new video there? That wouldn't make much sense, would it? I don't know. So I guess I'll just keep on adding the old content to the backup channel. Right? I'm new. Obviously, it's just not my... I'm new to this shit. So, yeah, the new channel, what is it? It is the Round Table of Knowledge by HTH, and the link to the backup channel is going to be, should be in the video description below of this video. And if you had problems finding out the latest, what's going on here, what happened to here, that channel will be able to inform you instantly. So it may be an idea to subscribe to that channel if you want. It's up to you. Now, I've got a bunch of recent emails. Remember, I'm going to try to go back and forth, so we'll go back to the beginning, to the longest waiting emails, and then we'll switch over to newer emails, and then vice versa, right? Because people will email in and reply to something that happened in a relevant, recent, past email. And then it'll help make more sense for us. So, here we go. Some of the unfortunate people here have written, and well, actually I've got a couple other ones here I got to get through first that were numbered to read, and I haven't read them yet. Sorry. So what I do other times, I will go through just to make sure it's something that needs to be heard by all of you. I'll number them so I don't get all screwed up here and waste time. And I have 3 here left with numbers beside them, so I got to get them read right now. I don't know when they were sent. This one looks like it was sent in June 1st of 22. Hi, Steve. I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing a two-part letter this time. The first part is for you, and the second part is for the people. Okay, I better go to the second part. That's a big chunk for the first part. I think I may have read this. Maybe not. If you have saved one life, then all your hard work's been worth it, and I believe you have saved many, just by educating the people who work to what lurks in the forest. Maybe, I don't know. I know David Pilatus probably has. Thank you for the kind words either way. I'm in my mid-60s, and I've spent a great deal of free time in the great outdoors. I've listened to tens of thousands of stories about the Sabbath. I've seen enough, tracks, smells, and sounds, to know that they are real and do want an encounter like the 2 ladies. I think you might have meant don't. I don't know. Let's try that sentence again. I've seen enough tracks, smells, and sounds to know they are real and do want an encounter like the 2 ladies who saw a 10 to 50-foot Sabbath picking berries in the north part of Quebec, Nunavik. If I remember correctly, one of the 2 ladies was in her mid-80s and had spent her whole life enjoying the outdoors. But after the encounter, the outdoors was ruined for her. She said this in her own native tongue. Much like these 2 women, I have nothing to gain by coming forward and everything to lose. Let me just add, I've seen large, barefoot, human-like tracks in the middle of nowhere. These tracks could not be reproduced by me and my son. Together, we weigh in at over 600 pounds and came nowhere close to indenting the ground as deep as this creature of the natural forest did. In fact, most of that coastal rainforest we're in has had so much rotting timber you could sink up to your waist if you stepped wrong. So you'd try and run down one log and find another until you made it out of there or to a trail, prairie, or creek bed. I read somewhere the longest set of satellite tracks was by 3 individuals, and they went on for 18 miles. If all these tracks are fake, there must be some really bored people in this world. Dogman? No way. No how do I believe in Dogman. However, I am from Wisconsin, where the Dogman has been said to hang out, mostly the Mississippi River and Upper Peninsula. One day while driving home from work, I saw Anubis for about 5 to 10 seconds, mid to late afternoon. It was standing in the woods at the corner of the field about 100 meters off the road. I thought, it must be a deer. No, wrong shape and size. Well, how about a wolf? No way, too big and just wrong. So maybe someone is an Egyptian art lover and is throwing out an Anubis statue. It had to be a statue because just no movement, and it did not fit any animal category I could think of. The next afternoon while driving home, and I looked for it, but Anubis was gone. My mind can't accept what I've seen, so maybe the light was playing tricks on me. At the end of the day, I might have to open a small window of possibility that these things are real too. However, that's a scary thought. I'll put the whole Wendigo thing off for another day. Okay, hold on. Before I carry on, we'll show everybody the photo that you added in. I guess this is what you're referring to, right? The Egyptian being? All right. Now, I would say the Dogman can't be real. However, these creatures have been spotted all over the world for thousands of years. In one part of my life, I worked in a library and remember reading a story about the wagon trains coming across Wisconsin. Some of them reported a large wolf-like animal. They would run alongside the wagons out of curiosity and were capable of getting up and running on 2 legs before darting back into the woods. That's it for now. Please don't pick apart my links I just threw in. The first one I came across to prove my point. We're not alone or crazy. Steve, thanks again for all you do and for helping the people get back on their feet and back in the woods. Sincerely, Dwight. Okay, Dwight, thanks for that, man. I didn't read the first part for me yet because it's too long. I'll have to read it after this. Because the people are waiting to be heard. And that's fine. I mean, hey, you don't want to accept the existence of those things? I don't blame you. I used to not accept them, and I instantly just didn't really even listen when people brought it up. But I have to understand. I had to finally accept the fact that the people in my community, meaning all of you, everyone, you get hundreds of witnesses saying the same thing around the world, not interconnected in any way. That is what makes me go, okay, I gotta accept these facts from these good, hardworking, honest people who didn't ask to see that shit. So, do I believe in the dog head, the dog man thing? Yes, I have to. It's too much evidence. End of story for me. First encounter. Late November 2015, hunting season. First day of the rifle firearm for deer. Me and my son and my brother were hunting on private land. First day of buck. Quad trails was the easiest way to hunt this area, but me and my son are true blue deer kickers. Read this one. Don't know why it isn't marked as red. Alright. Well, there's another one. Here we go. Coincidence. My story about a dog man in North Louisiana. Hi Steve, love what you're doing here. My name is, you can use it, George Matt, and I have lived in North Louisiana my whole life. I grew up on a large cotton farm that my father owns, and my mother is a Cherokee Indian. So I was always raised to believe in things that most Americans think are imaginary. Anyway, I'm going to get to my sighting and tell you what happened to me back in the early 1990s. It was, I remember, still cold in February, and our hunting season had already ended like a month before, so animals were back to not being hunted and less scared of people and cars, etc. Me and 2 of my friends were out riding around the farm, probably smoking weed and drinking beer, out in the country doing what we did back then, and trying to see some big buck or deer that made it through the season to hunt next year. Well, it was starting to get dark, and we were headed back to town to hang out with friends and go out for the night. It was a 20-mile ride from my house, and we had just pulled out on the road. Maybe 2 miles or so, we saw something just hauling ass out of a cotton field. I remember saying, "What the hell are those?" as two dog-like huge animals running kinda on all fours, and sometimes on 2 legs also. They both jumped the whole 2-lane highway like no problem. When I say these things were hauling ass, I mean like probably 60 miles an hour. I remember saying they kind of looked like the hellhounds off the movie Ghostbusters. My friends agreed with me as soon as I said that. They had huge upper bodies, but their bodies from their butt down were kind of small. Or maybe that's just the way it looks. When they're running so fast, and it was strange looking. Anyways, the speeds they were moving and the way they both went down on all fours after they hit the smooth ground after jumping the road. Both of them had wolf-like heads, very black in fur, and when they did go up on 2 legs, they both were well over 8 feet. And man, I don't want to see that. I just don't want to have anything to do with that. Period. It just throws everything for an absolute loop between your ears, does it not? What an alarming freaking sight. These things were big and very fast. I remember that the woods on the other side of the field was like 400 yards, and they made it to cover in seconds. We all were like, what the F was that? We turned around to go back to my house and run in screaming at my mom. Guess what just happened, or what we just say? She was telling us to calm down and speak like one at a time. Anyway, we told her, and she kept saying some strange Indian name for the animals. Besides her, everyone else would say, "You all just saw 2 wolves," and shit like that. So I remember just stopped talking about it because people were making fun of us and shit like that. I remember later asking my mom about the Bigfoot and or a Dogman, and I wish I could remember how to say and spell the names she called both, but I can't. Anyway, that's my story. And ever since, I've always believed people when they would tell me about seeing big things in the woods, and always wanted them to know that I believe 100%. I do have a story about a tree getting pushed over a few years later, but that's another story that I'll save for a different email. Thanks again, Steve, for reading it. And it feels good to know that I have someone to tell without being made fun of or treated like a crazy person. Thanks again, George Mott. Mott, M-O-T-T. I guess that this gets me in the club of no return. Rather, I like it or not. Also, anyone else that has a story, I hope hearing this will make them comfortable to tell the story. And it will. You know it will, dude. What a shitty thing to have to... I don't know, it's just that description. Picture it. Don't start thinking, no way, man, the guy was on drugs smoking weed. Just picture it. Whether that person made it up or not, just picture it. That'd just be so much for the average human mind to take in, let alone share. Man, you got to think with that description, and how they move, size of them. What could you actually do? We run around so innocent and so unprepared for anything in the real world on average, because we are basically, I'm going to say it, from everything I've gathered, we are basically a slave race. There's no denying it. And we are kept so filtered and so suppressed of true knowledge. We are kept so defenseless on average, are we not? Right? Guns, oh my god, guns are so scary, we're gonna ban guns. Maybe try banning mental health, people with mental health issues from acquiring firearms. Because guns don't kill anybody. They just don't. Look at this gun's been sitting here for how long and hasn't killed anything. It's not even scary. Uh-oh, it's black. What a bunch of dumbasses. Sick, demented people and control freaks kill people. The people that want to ban the guns are the people that have killed the most people on the planet today and continue to kill them. Anyways, I'm babbling a little bit. But you gotta admit, we are defenseless. We're defenseless for the possibilities of what may happen at any given time to any community. We're basically, on average, defenseless, and we're kept that way intentionally. And that is absolute bullshit. Because I'll tell you what, I don't give a shit who you are. If there's something that fits the description of what this generous person just wrote in, described, and how they move, what you gonna do about it? Right? What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do? There's 10 of them. It's a piss off, right? But we're educating people, we're making people aware, we're giving people the choice whether to accept or not. You got the choice. But the good thing is people like this are doing their part, they're sharing their knowledge, and they've done their part. The rest is up to you, right? The rest is up to you. What you gonna do with that information? Alright. Who's recent? What do we got? Alright, here's one with a photo. Photo I've seen before. Old information from elders from 1980 in Alaska. I forgot to add another picture that was recently taken moose hunting season about 15 miles from where we were hunting. Please don't share the location. We don't need tourists out here trying to prove it's real. Before I found your channel, I thought I was the one that had to prove these things were real. So thank you for all your help getting the truth out. This was taken at good... Hold on a minute. Let me read that again. You just said, I forgot to add a picture as taken, moose hunting. Please don't share the location. Okay, well, don't write it in, because I went straight to reading what you put, and you said where it was. This is taken at blah, blah, blah lake in Alaska. This has to be the clearest photo I've ever seen. I know you couldn't care less, but you can see its calf muscles and chest muscles. This year, when I went home, the whole village was warning me to be careful on top of... you're putting these names in here, all right? Blank River. I'm not going to read them. And watch out for the little people and the hairy man. We have legends of fairies that fly, little people that will mess with us at night as well. When I was hunting at 3 a.m., I woke up very randomly to a tree falling within 200 yards of the tent, and what sounded to be rocks being tossed into the creek we were camping in. There was even a story of campers sitting by a fire and a rock flying out of nowhere into the fire, and it completely put the fire out. Wow. Alright, and then it goes into another email dated October 11th, 2022, and this first one was dated on the 12th. Alright. Here we go. Hi, Steve. Here is information from a book my grandmother kept from 1980. The book was made for the high school students to go interview the elders in the village. I have a digital copy of the book as well. There are stories, shamanism, the legendary monsters. This is an interview of Andrew Bavilla. At the time, he didn't know his age, but in 1980, he was estimated to be over 100 years old. He remembers the time before the Russians arrived. All right, here we go. Question. Do you know about the Ulrich legendary monsters, spelled Y-U-I-L-R-I-Q? They say that Ulrich are frightening. They took guts out of people, and when they took their guts out, they would run real fast, really fast, and they were very swift in doing things. The guts of people are huge, and these Ulrich would take the guts out. When they owned people, they turned them into Ulrich, and they'd be really swift runners too. After they joined the Ulrich, none of their relatives could catch them. They would take the guts out of people, but they would not let them die. They would be very light. There was a guy who turned into a Ulrich when he was sleeping. The Ulrich surrounded this man, and they asked him if he wanted to turn into one of them. He refused, and they scared him, and he jumped over the hill. They couldn't stop him, and he was as swift as a flying bird. Question. What do you think about the weather? What did you think about the weather in those days? Witch doctors would possess the weather to let it get better instead of worse. The witch doctors who weren't satisfied with the weather would fly in the air. The sky would start darkening up, and it would be dark even when dawn came. Then the weather would be really peaceful without even a breeze. That was the way the witch doctors treated the weather. It seemed like they could turn off the switch for daylight in the daytime. They could still do it these days. These semi-witch doctors, they can make the weather better. Question. Were witch doctors, shaman, very scary in those days? The wise shaman were very scary. They would always wanted to kill the guy who knew what shaman's works were long ago. They still do it today. Question. Did they kill just by thinking? No, they killed them with the devil's belongings. They were wise from the devil. To be wise from the devil, you read a scripture, and you read it, or you read it. You want to go underwater, and you read a scripture of Satan's, and mysteriously, you go under the water. Another thing, when you want to go by air, you read another script for flying, and then you take off above the ground. When you want to walk, you read a script for walking. That is the way for a shaman's life. That's it. All right. This photo, I believe, is a. That's the end of the email. But this photo is a screenshot from a video. I believe I've seen this video. Take from Willie what you will or leave it. But that is the photograph that the man claims was taken in Alaska. I don't know about that myself. I don't have a clue. I'd have to look into it. I'm sure somebody on here, you sleuths, are very familiar with this video clip and that photo, and you probably know its reported origins. Now, more voices. More voices. Thanks for sending that in. It's interesting. Interesting. Alright. Type this in as red. Crazy and clear pics. Hello, Steve. I'm going to keep this as short as possible. I grew up in the woods in New Mexico. I will email some stories later, but I wanted to show you or your community some pics I took. I don't want every damn body and their dog going to this place, as you may get shot just trying to get there. Oh well, but seriously, when you see the pics, you may understand. These native tribes in the area are Navajo and Jacarilla Apache. I grew up with both as my friends, and no, they aren't traditionally into gauge piercing like the natives of South America. Like I say, once you see the pics, you'll have a better understand. If your community could help identify where this may have originated, that would be awesome, as I don't know any archaeologists. Alright, man, gotcha. I'll share them. And, that's quite the carving, isn't it? How about that sloped head? Yeah, crazy. That would be really bizarre to see that. Hiking through the woods and not knowing it was there. Wow. Very, very interesting. Somebody may know something. We'll post them up in the video. Thanks for sending that. Watch the comment section below for somebody to reply to what you shared. Alright, here we go. Ooh, this is a long one, but I'm going to do it. 4 hours paced in Cypress Hills, Alberta / Saskatchewan. That'd suck. Steve, how in the hell are you doing down there, brother? I hope your day is grooving. It's not going too bad. My name is Ronan. I'm from South Alberta and Southeast Kootenay. Proudly, I should add. I have a whack of stories, but busted them down to point, form, and timeline the best I could. Right on. All over it. Giver. So here it goes, 91 and 92, Warner, Alberta. There was crop circles on the adjacent field to the tiny airport. Edmonton scientists detected traces of radiation. No shit. Number 2, feel free to skip anything if you don't want to read it. I'm just sharing my experience or knowing what I saw. Number 3, Medicine Hat, Alberta. 1996 and 97, my roommate and I were both reading books and every cupboard and drawer slammed open. Drawers just barely hanging in about a half a second. We moved out right after. No doubt. Number 4, this is just a cool picture I saw in the Bull River in BC by Joffrey. This is a location photo of 2 albino elk mixed in with the herd on a hillside, and a pic of a guy who was holding a cougar up, front legs over his arms at 5 feet, and half the cat and its tail were laying on the ground. That's a big kitty. Number 5, 7 hours north of Lac La Biche, Alberta. I was hauling water on the rigs and saw footprints in the ditch walking into the forest where there is no reason to go. Midday. I stopped, grabbed my disposable Kodak 35mm and went out to look. They were drifted in slightly, but much bigger than my size 13 Baffins. I do have a pick in storage. I'll try to forward it maybe one day. Number 6, in 99, my buddy Liat, Liat, and I went to go mountain biking in the Cypress Hills Park, Alberta/Saskatchewan. We got on the 9-kilometer one-way uphill trail around 7 p.m. It was only an hour ride up, much faster down. My first time, we made it almost all the way when we had to make the call to turn around because it was more dark than we expected when the sun set behind the hills at 8:20ish. The trail up is only one, but the trail down branched off 2 or 3 ways, 2 or 3 times. Hence, we were effing lost. No lights, food, water, weed, smokes after we ran out. My lighter, out of fluid, was the only strobe light we had. We walked through pitch black for hours until we came out to a barbed wire fence, which we never seen going up. Then there was a sign, the back of a sign. So I went over with my flint light only, and the other side said Alberta Park boundary. Oh F. We are, where are we? This whole time we heard some shit on the bushes, but just figured deer or whatever. It's now 1 a.m. and the full moon came over the east of the hills. Now we can see 10-foot tall reeds, but it looked like a clearing on the other side. But he says, let's go through. And I'm like, F that action. He said, that's grass, not water. And I said, I disagree. So he said, if it's water, he'll carry bike for the rest of the night. So I said, okay. We had to throw our bikes 5 feet into the grass to knock it down, then go grab it, rinse, repeat for about 200 yards. We break through the other side. And lo and behold, mowed grass. It was the rodeo grounds about 3 miles south where we parked and not even close to our trails. 8 hours of bushwhacking in shorts and a wife beater will teach you some shit. We got to the car at 3:30 a.m. After we left at 7 p.m. We both had to work at 6 the next day. The reason that was so long is because in 2004, my daughter had heart surgery at 5 days old. Oh, she's good now and follows you too, bud. Oh, good. On our way home, I somehow came across the Sierra Sounds, and it creeped me right out. There was a forum, and I read this story, which still makes me shiver and cringe to this day. An old fellow was going fishing at the exact lake we tried to ride out. It's called Spruce Coulee by Resort Lake, where my dad's ashes are spread on the very top of the Cypress Hills. The story I read was this old retired fellow went to meet up with a buddy who was already there. Spruce Lake is small. You can walk all the way around in a couple hours with casting. There's only one place to park at the campground, a dam. We always took the right trail and came back across the dam if you did the whole loop. So, the fellow walks down the trail for 5 minutes or so, not far from the dock and cars, pretty decent trail and nice treat area. Spent my childhood on my BMX and my fishing rod and pellet gun there, and Resort Lake. Well, the old man walked around a bend and stopped dead on the trail to see 2 adult and 2 little Sabe on the hands and knees drinking water from their hands, and the little ones trying to catch minnows. He just stood there for who knows how long until he retreated. Same old story. He stepped on something walking backwards and made noise. They all looked up, spooked, and in 4 or 5 strides were gone into the bush. He decided he wasn't going to fish there anymore, and he left. Don't know about his buddy. However, I know my friend and I were lost in the friggin' dark for 8 hours in that exact forest on the exact trail we were trying to ride on, but I didn't know till 5 years later. 23 years later, I think of that all the time. Number 7, 88ish. Friend's birthday party near downtown Medicine Hat. 2 a.m. Something flew over the yard at no more than 200 feet high, but 400 feet wide. A red light on one side, a white on the other, going less than 70 miles an hour, no noise, none. We're 15 miles south of a big military base, but something that big makes up a noise. No idea what to think about it. That's creepy. Number 8, 2014. I camped in a tent, gold prospecting for 7 weeks at Fort Steele, BC. Never heard a squirrel, never saw a deer, nothing. Always wondered about that. Number 9, 2018, Pincher Creek, Alberta. I was a single dad driving taxi at night. My shift always ended after the Greyhound come or didn't. I lived beside a church, and kiddo didn't like being home alone, so often would come with me. I didn't smoke in the house, cigs or weed. I did break my back in a motorcycle crash 30 years ago, so I do partake in the doobies, lol. You don't gotta explain nothing else, man. So we went to sit on the grass at the church and look at the stars before we went inside. It must be 3:30 a.m.-ish. No sooner than I sat down and looked up, 3 dim circles about 40 feet above the trees went flying past from north to south, triangle formation, totally silent. No lights, probably 150 kilometers an hour. I still have no clue why I did this, but I whistled really loud and the furthest west circle effing darted west from heading south instantly. Impossible, man. I looked at, please don't say her name, and said, "Did you see that?" Yep. We decided to go inside and I smoked on the step. About a year later to the day, we're moving to BC and I looked up to the stars and asked for a sign if I was making the right decision. Steve? Jesus, 2 chickens just come out of the bush to my left. Without me knowing. Anyway, Steve, as gods and the stars are my witness, the brightest and most colorful meteor flew past my place in the exact direction we are going to move to. 111% swear on my mom's and daughters. I felt a huge relief and was like, yeah, here we go. I looked back up those circles, came right back over our house again. Some heights, same height, same tree, but going east to west this time. And the effing one that I whistled at the first time wasn't there. What the F, man? They were like the size of a car rim. White, but no light in the dark. Yeah, you know, you can see a flock of birds at night from the ambient light from the street lights. That's what it looked like. Not long after that, I was sitting out back having a beer and a doober after midnight. We lived 200 feet from the creek, and something went smashing and crashing down the creek bed so fast, breaking everything in its way, with the rocks and boulders for flood protection. There's no friggin' way it was an elk or a moose or a bear. Impossible to cover 200 yards in 20 seconds. A breaking woods. Number 10, 2020, Kimberley, BC. Why do I smell smoke? I'll be back in a second. Well, it's not my place. It's a lot of smoke. Something's burning up somewhere to the east. Hope it's not somebody's home. Still hasn't rained forever here. Alright. Number 10, 2020, Kimberley, BC, on top of the ski hill I lived and worked. One night I was out for a cig and I saw a bunch of lights on the side of the hill where there's no trails. And heard a bunch of gibberish. At least 5 voices, but not English. And the lights went back and forth, hundreds of yards, through the forest, unnaturally fast. I thought maybe a pack of dogs that all had lights, but it wasn't. I have no effing clue what I saw. But I did get a super grainy, shitty-ass cell phone video. I'll be sure not to send it to you. Well, sorry this thing is long, but I've wrote this list over the past 2 years. It's time to share what I know. Number 11. Less than a year ago, south edge of Medicine Hat, Alberta. Steve, this one's a mind F. I heard nearly all the emails from the round table, but this is new. Around noon, I'm sitting on our east-facing deck south of the airport. There's a coulee and 7 Persons Creek that runs behind the property. My mom just went in and so did my kid. I was having a smoke and looking at my phone when the famous yell/scream/roar happened within a mile of the house. It sounded atrocious. About 10 seconds long. So random and off-putting I didn't realize or even pay due. About 40 seconds later, again, long drawn-out scream like someone was dying or holding someone dying. But with a volume we don't know of. It echoed for miles down the coulee in the other direction, west. Then about 30 seconds later, again, that scream yell. And I've found almost the same noise on YouTube searches, but this time I was like, what the F is that? I went in and told my daughter to get up here quick, and Mom come running out of her bathroom saying, what's wrong? I said, there's a scream outside. And my mom said, I know, I heard it. Dude, we had a 1,700 square foot house. I was on the east deck and Mom's bathroom faced west. She heard that scream echo off the neighbor's acreage and down the coulee from her barely open small window. My daughter never heard it, I'm thankful. This is in the city limits of Medicine Hat, man. Houses everywhere around that coulee. Later that week, I asked our landlord, who lived on the same acreage, if she heard anything weird. She said no. She has 10 horses in that coulee. There's been cougars, but not with lungs that frickin' big. Landlady said there were sightings on the Seven Persons Creek, Alberta in the mid-70s, and her dad was the lead investigator for the cattle mutilating back then. Oh, wow. I encourage you all to look up Seven Persons Alberta Sasquatch. Brother, thank you for the new channel format. As I dropped out grade 12 to go to work, I hope my grammar was more than stellar. Peace and stay deadly. Just for Steve. All right, man. Got it. Sad story. And, all right, I got you, man. That sucks ass. And just so all you know, side note, especially if there's people on here that were so emotionally challenged and bent between the ears that they excommunicated family members over this, you might want to Google up Pfizer and see what they just recently admitted to. And then I would strongly suggest immediately going and finding your coworkers, friends, or your family that you deleted and beg for their forgiveness. On that note. Anyway, that's a handful, buddy. I wonder if your vibration is just a little on the different level that enables you to have all this crazy shit happen to you, right? I'm starting to wonder about that a lot lately. It's a crazy frickin' lifetime, isn't it? Okay, I'm gonna read one more, you guys, and I'm gonna get ripping. Get ripping. Prince of Wales, Alaska, first experience. Hey Steve, I arrived from Juneau, the capital, yesterday to do some drone footage for the local road builders filming stockpile pits. I was supposed to fly back this morning, but the weather was too nasty and the flight was cancelled. It's deer season, and of course I brought my rifle, so I decided to head up the mountain for a quick look. It's raining and windy, but I was moving fast, so I clipped my hat to my backpack and kept my hood down. Nothing was covering my ears. I'm young at 31 and live a sober life. As I stood to take a look around about halfway up the mountain, I started to hear a very low woo, woo sound coming from higher up the mountain, maybe 7 yards away. You could almost feel the sound as much as you could hear it. Said everybody when they experienced that. I spent my whole life here and I've never heard a sound like that, and that's exactly what I said to myself. It happened about 3 times within a 5-minute period. As I started to walk up the mountain, I got about 50 yards up, and I clear as day heard the notorious whoop sound. This time more to my right, once again, 7 yards away. It was so crystal clear sounding, I knew what it had to be. I stopped in my tracks and made sure I didn't let my emotions get the best of me. I stayed calm, and after listening to stories on your channel, I knew I was going to be okay because I'm a good person. I just tried to keep a good energy going in case they were reading that inside me. I decided to continue up the mountain. If this is really happening, I didn't want to leave right away and wanted to soak in the experience. I walked up for another 45 minutes and decided it was time to turn back. I wasn't deer hunting anymore. I was just glancing all around me through the trees to see if I could catch a glimpse of one. It was exciting and terrifying. As I made my way down the mountain, I kept thinking about what had happened and how it was too clear to mistake what I heard. I also kept thinking about the knocking on the trees like a baseball bat. Sure as shit, around the same location I heard the sounds. I heard a clean smack of a tree, perfectly like a bat smacking a tree. No muffled bark sound or anything. A perfect knock. Once again, about 7 yards away. Oh God, if I was already convinced. I thought I was keeping my cool until I had my phone in my hand following my GPS track back down the mountain when a text came in and I threw the phone about 3 feet in the air. I bet you did. I knew I was all jacked up. It was wet and the ground was super slick. I had my ankle rubber boots on and went half sliding back down the mountain. I found myself not wanting one to eye lock me into a fear coma. I was never really scared, but my emotions were haywire. I I'm sitting here still with my adrenaline running through me. Because of your channel, I was able to understand what was going on and embrace the experience. I feel truly blessed. It's my first time on this island, and I've only been in the woods for 3 hours. This place will forever hold a special place in my heart. Thanks again, LeClaire. Okay, man. Appreciate it. You got some balls going forward after hearing that. Right over the house. Alright, I gotta go. I'll be back more later, guaranteed. Make sure you seek out and listen to the links that I provided in the past few videos on this channel, if you want to. And if you learn anything, if you decide that something on there is important for your community, your friends, your family to hear, then do your part and pass it on to them, or not. And don't forget as well, if you're curious about what has gone on in our society recently, what's been imposed upon us this past couple of years, and maybe possibly you may have made some incorrect choices, which we all do, no big deal. Just because we make mistakes in life doesn't mean we got to pay for your whole life, right? So, if you Google up what Pfizer just admitted to the world, check that shit out. And keep talking out loud. I'll be back later, for sure. Backup channel link is going to be below. The Roundtable of Knowledge by HTH. And keep talking. Keep being honest with your neighbor and your families, alright?